Got it.
Boom. Look at that. Now you're talking.
I'm just having so much trouble concentrating because, um, and a lot of people don't know this. Game 6 is very pivotal.
Why is that?
It's always very pivotal. Yeah.
No, why is that? Why is Game 6 a big deal?
Well, because it just is. It's between 4,
Yeah,
5, and
yeah.
7. It just is. I don't know. It's a.
Because could it be the deciding game of the series? Maybe could somebody win a world championship?
That's above my pay grade. I don't know.
I don't know. I just was.
I just. Now tomorrow is it, and then Thursday, nothing.
That's right, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Right.
If everything goes as it's supposed to go.
And you can count on that for two reasons. 2 words. Yeah. Ready? American Airlines.
Something special in the air, allegedly.
That's enough of that.
Yeah.
Okay. T-Berry's had some outbursts in the last 15 minutes.
What's wrong with him?
Well, it's not what's wrong with him. It's that people are walking on the street.
People are a bunch of assholes.
And they have no right.
They're a bunch of freaking assholes, in my opinion, if I may.
Have no right. None. Zero.
All right, I'm set. Get out of my face.
Me too. You ready?
I am.
Oh, my hair is not the way I like it.
Okay.
It is the Brad and Britt cast. Hello. I'm Brad, and he's Britt.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? I got an idea. Let's start local, but we won't stay local.
Sounds good to me. That sounds perfect to me, actually.
Yeah. This was Monday night here in beautiful North Carolina at the state capitol in Raleigh. The Democrats in the House of Representatives in Raleigh left the floor. They walked out because the Republicans, they have themselves a brand new member. This guy's name is Donnie Loftus. Donnie Loftus, who I know you think was one of the guitarists in 38 Special, right? That sounds like
that's correct. Donnie Loftus.
Donnie Loftus.
Wild-eyed Southern boys. Get that solo, Donnie Loftus.
Yeah. That may not be true, but it sounds good.
It does.
Anyway, he's a former Gaston County, that's down by Charlotte.
Yeah.
He's a former Gaston County commissioner who was, that's right, at the Capitol on January 6th.
Interesting.
And said he was at the entrance when they breached the door. He got some tear gas. He's kind of proud of that.
Yeah.
And before you hear even more about Mr. Loftus, it almost doesn't matter. That should be, at least, again, I'm pretty prejudiced here. That should be a deal breaker for your
I don't need any more. I really don't need any more. You know,
if you're
that's all the detail about. That's exactly right. That's all we need is you were an asshole. You were there and you're proud of it. That's all that's not good.
Right. And of course he wouldn't take any questions when this was all over from the pesky nosy reporters because he just wanted to celebrate the moment and spend more time with his family. And he's honored to be serving District 109, which is a great district. It's, of course, related to PT 109, John F. Kennedy's.
How dare you? How dare you even try to link those two things? An American hero, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and this asshole.
Now, Mr. Loftus resigned the chairmanship of his local hospital board last year after a bunch of his COVID social media posts were questioned and a now deleted Facebook post that got some folks' attention too. He said that on January 6th, he was close enough when rioters breached the Capitol to be gassed 3 times, and he felt a duty as a veteran to be there that day. All right, so forget what we just said, that just the idea that he was there was enough. Now, the evidence is building of you have decided that you had to find a wackadoodle, anti-government. No, he's pro-government. He was a veteran. He had served our country. Sorry. You've lost that credential for serving your country previously in the military if you were part of what was going on January 6th. You just forfeited it all. You gave it up.
And he was gassed 3 times, which was a huge hit for Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. So there he was. Yep. And he's super proud of this. These are his bona fides. This is what you've accomplished in your life. And the Democrats in the North Carolina House said, you know what? Let's go watch Monday Night Football. I think we're done. We're going to watch Peyton and Eli. I don't think we need to be here. We're good.
This is what he said on Facebook. My oath of enlistment has the phrase both foreign and domestic. Protecting him. And he said we didn't think it would actually be domestic. Yeah. So that's a full gaslight 180. So
you are the domestic. You are the domestic.
Right. He's claiming that he was at the Capitol to protect America against the domestic enemy known as a free and fair election, the peaceful transfer of power, another enemy thing that is okay. So this is North Carolina.
Yeah,
this is the state government. Yeah. This is the only guy they could find. Nobody else.
Yeah,
it's the best they can do. Asked about the post last month, Mr. Loftus said his involvement was purely peaceful, and he was surprised and disappointed to see others storming the building. Surprised and disappointed.
It really is almost comedy at this point for him to be. I can't believe all you people are storming the Capitol. We're here for a peaceful demonstration.
Now, you would then ask the leadership of the Republicans, again, couldn't you find anybody? Couldn't you just go to the phone book? Couldn't you just throw darts at a board with and last name B and find someone with last something like that?
They love this guy. I'm sure they're embracing this guy.
Right. Tim Moore is the name of the guy who is the leader of the Republicans in Raleigh. Okay. It's him and this other guy named Phil Berger.
Yeah.
He says he's known Mr. Loftus for 20 years, and he's a good man.
Good guy.
And that given FBI, listen to this one, given FBI scrutiny of the attack, if he'd done anything illegal that day, we'd have heard it by now. Really? Because as you know, it's all been adjudicated. It's all over. Everything that needs to be done, everyone that needs to be investigated, everyone that needs to be named. I would hope that the attention he's getting right now would kind of send up a little red flag over at the FBI headquarters at J. Edgar Hoover. It's still named after him, right? The great J.
I think so. I think so.
Wonderful man who, of course, later paired up with Ralph Lauren, and they went into the fashion business together.
No,
and became
that's not
huge.
That's not what happened. That's not.
He's done so much for the community, said Leader Moore. Everything I've ever known about him is he's trying to give back and serve the community. I think we're fortunate he's here to serve. Well, yeah. So, of course, the Democrats do not agree with that. But just think, this is this is kind of just a little example of what's going on all over the country. Okay.
Yeah.
Republicans are figuring out ways to either install or get elected people into positions where it ain't going to be business as usual. Elections are not going to be respected. This guy was at the Capitol on orders of Donald Trump and thought he was doing the right thing for America that day. I respectfully disagree. You respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
And you know what? He obviously wasn't violent or anything like that. And if someone like this were apologetic and said, I was wrong to be there, I shouldn't have been there, I shouldn't have listened to Donald Trump that day, like 500 things that, of course, will never be said.
I would listen to him.
Right. I'd listen to him. But that's not what this is. This is doubling down.
No, I'm proud of this.
Country. Yeah, I'm proud of it. I'm standing by it. So there you go. That's my opening card on the table there, Britt. What do you got?
Let's stay with January the 6th and the insurrection. After that deep dive by the Washington Post over the weekend, it contained a little nugget in there that South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham told the sergeant at arms, use that gun that you have. We gave you guns for a reason, as marauding hordes, including this asshole, Donnie Loftus, descended upon the United States Capitol, attempting to murder lawmakers. And now various people are criticizing Lindsey Graham for telling the sergeant at arms to shoot the marauding intruders, including Tucker Carlson at Fox News, ripping Lindsey Graham, saying, why were you doing that? Why were you telling them to shoot these people? These are our people, Lindsey. Now, Senator Graham has not emerged from the closet long enough to say that the Washington Post was incorrect in what they said. So this continues onward, and it creates a little bit of a rift, I think, Brad, in the Fox News crowd, who is pretty pissed off that Lindsey Graham thought that people who were trying to kill him should be shot.
Wow. A lot of moving parts on that. But by the way, you threw in a little aside there. There isn't any question that the Post's reporting is solid here.
Yeah, but that was Lindsey Graham.
You're just saying that Lindsey Graham hasn't come out with the standard denial.
He hasn't lied. He hasn't come out and lied and said that they're not telling the truth, because there are multiple.
I just want to make sure.
Yes, that is part of the plan here, is that Tucker Carlson in Fox News speak has taken the bait from the media that's clearly lying, that's saying that Lindsey Graham was saying you need to shoot these people, when clearly there's no getting out of the woods on this one. Lindsey Graham said it, he meant it, and he's here to represent it.
Right. But you see the way the story is presented. The story is presented not as the real problem is what Lindsey Graham said. The real issue, of course, is the star of the show, Tucker Carlson.
Correct.
Who rips Graham over the report that he told officers to shoot January 6th rioters, according to The Hill. Here's what this does. Here's what this is all about from the Fox News standpoint, because, we got them down cold. I know how they think. We know how they think.
Of course.
And this is perfect for Tucker Carlson. Okay. This gives him, quote unquote, standing or credibility to say how he was against the violence, quote, on both sides, and that everybody misbehaved that day. And Lindsey Graham, he can pretend to suddenly distance himself from what Lindsey Graham was unquestionably saying, and to defend Lindsey Graham here for just a moment, not knowing the circumstance under which he said those things. When you realize that you are under siege and that you are just one door being knocked down away from being murdered or taken hostage, you might say anything, even, why aren't the cops shooting these people? Which, again, we have to put things in perspective as to where they go on the list of, I can't believe someone said that. You know what? That's the most believable. I can't believe we don't have 535 examples of people in Congress all saying the same day, will you get these fucking people out of here?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. They have no right to breach the Capitol. They all broke the law, and goddamn shoot them. Now, so Lindsey Graham gets tagged on this. I can't believe I'm fashioning a defense, not a legal defense,
No,
but
stupid
certainly a
defense.
situational and moral defense here of him getting picked out of the crowd. And, should he have said that? No. Were other members of Congress overheard saying those things? Don't think so. And you know how we know that? There'd be 100 whataboutisms to defend Lindsey Graham right now. Oh, what about Nancy Pelosi? She was in the corner crying on her cell phone. We don't have those stories, do we? Because they don't exist, because that didn't happen.
Right.
So, again, this whole idea that a story is Tucker Carlson rips Lindsey Graham, doesn't really get to the importance of the moment, of the day, of the attempt to overthrow the government. The big story from January 6th isn't that Lindsey Graham thought that the Capitol Police should have more vigorously defended the Capitol with more violence and more guns. And, we don't have to go through the whole messed up situation, lack of communication, disregarding of all the clues that there was going to be something happening. Yes, that's all part of the story. But the real story is that the real evidence right now points more and more and more and more towards Donald Trump being, and I don't even want to use the word mastermind, because that implies some kind of genius, Dr. Evil kind of thing. But the Trump orchestrated this, allowed it to happen for 3 hours before he lifted a finger, was enjoying it. I think there needs to be an accounting and a forced look at all of the records of every pizza place and burger delivery joint at the White House to see if during those 3 hours they were called in. But I guess he doesn't have to do that.
No, they make enough. They make enough stuff for him to shove in his face. They're good.
Right. and so that gets us all the way back here to North Carolina.
Yeah.
With this clown suddenly becoming a member of the North Carolina legislature.
Donnie Loftus.
Hey, Donnie, you might want to step away from the public eye for it. But again, that would assume some level of guilt, shame, understanding, acknowledgement, decency, and some kind of respect for the United States of America, which you claimed that you had more than anyone else in terms of you're a veteran, you took the oath, you fought for the country maybe. But I don't know where that all went wrong. But I also think it's gone wrong in the fire department in New York City, in the police department of New York City, in the Chicago Police Department, in any of these cities where there are police officers and firefighters or nurses, but who are represented by unions that are defending their so-called right, their so-called freedom to continue to work unvaccinated right now. I mean, and you know what? We're going to walk off the job if you don't. You know what? Fuck it. Guess what? New York City wasn't that safe 2 weeks ago with 40,000 cops. They'll be able to get by with 38,800. Okay.
This is the story out of New York where 34 police officers have defied New York's vaccine mandate, and they're on leave. Now there are, I believe, currently what the number that I saw was around 36,000 New York City police officers. So 10% of that is 3,600. 1% will be 360. This would be less than 1/10 of 1%. If my math is correct, less than 1/10 of 1% are being put on leave because they wouldn't take the damn vaccine. Right.
Now, I know there's a time element here where there's a deadline that's several weeks out, or is it? But I'm really glad that you got the exact number, because I guess I was taking the bait and was exaggerating, because I just assumed that There have to be many,
No.
and many apparently turns out to be 34, which is nothing. See you later. You're going to enjoy your new career, whatever it is. We don't need you. And I think that's fantastic. If that number holds, or it only goes to 50, right? I find it very difficult to believe that the larger number who weeks ago may have thought, oh, I'm not getting vaccinated, who were coerced, forced by the big, heavy hand of New York City, the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, blah, blah, all that shit, and Joe Biden, remember, that they're all going to be bitter the rest of their lives. God damn it, I got vaccinated. Shit, I didn't want to get vaccinated. God, right. Holy crap. My life has been hell since I've been vaccinated. I know yours has, mine has. Tens of millions of Americans, people's lives have been hell since we've been vaccinated, and we won't talk about it. Why are we afraid to acknowledge that our lives have been a living hell since we gave up our freedom and knuckled under to big pharma and big government and the plot? Which brings us to a woman that you and I have never heard of until now. Yeah. Her name is Emerald Robinson.
Emerald
She's
Robinson,
the White House correspondent for Newsmax.
Yeah, she's unfortunate.
Monday night, she posted a tweet that was a delightful combination of religious right falsehoods and anti-vax falsehoods in a fear-mongering message directed to Christians. Attention, Christians. Actually, it said, dear Christians, the vaccines contain a bioluminescent. There's a new word. Never heard that one before.
Does it exist? Is it a real word? Is it just bullshit?
No. It contains a bioluminescent marker called luciferase. Oh, it's got the word Lucifer in there. So it's Lucifer and then has ASE on the end of it. Who knows how you say it? So that you can be tracked. Read the last book of the New Testament to see how this ends, referring, of course, to your favorite book.
The Revelation, the book of the Revelation, which is a fucking acid trip. It always has been. It always will be.
I have to tell you, of course, I get all of her tweets. I'm a follower naturally, as you might guess.
You got the alerts.
That, I was outraged, and I corrected her because everybody knows that the vaccine actually doesn't do what she says. Gives you a bioluminescent marker. All it does is get you past the paywalls on every podcast you would ever want.
Sign me up.
It comes through your arm into your head.
I want more.
Your ears, and you can hear any podcast on any platform. Spotify.
Oh my God.
Wondery. Right. So that's the problem with what she said.
That's what I want. I want more of that. I got to have this. Yeah. Bioluminescence is the production and emission of light by a living organism, Brad. It is a form of chemoluminescence. Bioluminescence occurs widely in marine vertebrates and invertebrates, as well as some fungi. So she's nailed this, and people just can't stand the truth. I don't understand why people are raging against this poor Emerald person when she's killing it.
That sounds like a cousin of hydroxychloroquine, doesn't it?
It does. It very much does. That's fantastic.
If you put, or some kind of cocktail whose base liquid is Clorox or something of that sort. So, wow.
We can't really do much on the Virginia governor's race because by the time we finish this, it's going to be we'll discuss it tomorrow. But there's this reporter in this great clip that's going around. I don't know if you can hear what he's saying, but he's talking to this gentleman, and this gentleman says the number one issue in the governor's race in Virginia is critical race theory, CRT, and we need to get back to teaching our kids. And he goes, well. The reporter goes, well, what is critical race theory? And the quote from the gentleman here, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much. Literally is what the guy that he's in. And this guy is straight out of Central Casting that he's interviewing.
Well, of course. People, That's the point. The point is that you don't have to know what it is.
Yeah.
But you have been bombarded with the message that whatever critical race theory, CRT, I thought that was a kind of computer screen that I would be looking at, right?
No, yeah, exactly.
Right. The critical race theory is bad. It's a liberal plot. It makes you as a white person feel bad and guilty. And if it's taught to your children, they will hate you for being a white mommy and daddy who have not taught them that everything about America is based on bad shit that was done to black people for 400 years that we won't acknowledge. So that's about all I know about it, and I don't like it. And this guy probably doesn't even know that.
No.
But it doesn't matter. And this, we've already talked about this, 800 times, that the Republicans have found their moment here, and they found their issue. They found their caravans at the border issue, or all the other crap that they've used in elections that they essentially just make up. And I'll tell you, what's really pissing me off, no matter how this election comes out, unless it turns out that Terry McAuliffe, does win by 10 points, and then, this won't matter, although it still matters. The standard by which the Me Tooism, the whataboutism about what a Democrat says, being raised instantly to the level of he lied, compared to the torrent of lies that a cynical hedge fund piece of shit like Glenn Youngkin, who just decided he got to the point in his life where he had enough damn money, I'm going to run for office. He's one of those. He is one of those. That he'd go around and say anything he wants. He can talk about critical race theory being taught to her, and it's not, right? He can talk about Terry McAuliffe wants the government to come between you and your kids and your teeth. All the same bullshit. That's just flat out. That, by the way, doesn't get debunked anymore because it's been said for as long as we've been alive. They just say the same things over. And this is what Terry McAuliffe is getting tagged with in Politico. You ready? Ready? Yeah. This is what he said on Monday night before the election. Guess how Glenn Youngkin is finishing his campaign? He's doing an event with Donald Trump here in Virginia. Now, Politico says, that's a lie. Trump was just on video. He wasn't really there.
Yeah.
So I want you to just think about the fact that, yes, on the most technical terms, Donald Trump was not physically in Virginia, which, by the way, plays exactly into what Glenn Youngkin wants you to know, that Donald Trump didn't come here. That Donald Trump has nothing to do with this election.
I never heard of him.
Think about Donald Trump.
I don't know who he is. Who is that guy?
Right. But just think about the degree, because, lying, fibs, shading, there is a reason that it's 1 to 5 Pinocchios, okay, or a half. This, I don't even think this gets 1/10 of a Pinocchio terms of, wow, this could sway the election unfairly to Terry McAuliffe because he said a flat out lie that Donald Trump campaigned with Glenn Youngkin on Monday night. Wow. Because, Britt, we don't acknowledge remote broadcasts. We don't acknowledge remote interviews like the one we've been doing for the last year and a half now. That's not you and I are not even on the same wavelength. We're not on the same podcast. We're not on the same Facebook, YouTube. We're not. And Trump was not in the same campaign as Glenn Youngkin. He just wasn't. So that's the standard. And this is like makeup time. This is like in an NFL game when the refs make a really shitty call against one team. It's amazing how within 10 minutes they manage to very often make a bad call in the other direction to, quote, even it out. Well, since Trump had his over 30,000 documented lies and hundreds of thousands of other ones that didn't rise to the level of fact checking so we can check it off the list, I believe that the media, the non-right-wing media, is spending every living minute that they can making sure that anything that, quote, would have risen to off the charts if Trump would have said it, we have to make it about the Democrat now being equally mendacious as Trump. And it's bullshit.
And also,
is Terry McAuliffe a politician? Yes, he is. Is he a slick guy? Yes, he is. Has Terry McAuliffe said things that have been fact-checked and shown that he's full of shit? Yes. This is not one of them. This is just not one of them.
Well, this is Politico trying to get some sort of cachet, but look, we criticize liberals too. If you think we're part of it, and they get no credit for this, and they're still going to be criticized by the right. Oh, look, we went after Terry McAuliffe. Look at how we went after him. We were so fair, so unbelievable, and it's bullshit. It's absolutely like the stupidest thing ever. Like, well, this guy lies and this guy lies, so I don't know. They're both liars. Well, no.
It's actually, in a way, even worse than that, because, this whole election in Virginia, as you know, is all about this Youngkin character having supposedly figured out the secret sauce. Mm-hmm. How do you run in a trending blue, purplish state as a Republican without explicitly embracing Trump, but not pissing off his supporters because they're his base and they're your base? So you don't say his name and you deny that whatever election is going on has anything whatsoever to do with Donald Trump, who, from the cheap seats in New Jersey or Florida or wherever he is endorsing the shit out of you. He is using every opportunity to say, this is my guy and I want him in there. So that when Donald Trump runs for president again, he can call in favors from people like the governor of Virginia, who, I got him elected. He owes me. That's what the mafia boss does, doesn't it? That's what he does.
But they always try to, these guys always try to play this two-side stuff. Well, this guy did this and this guy did that. And it gets back even to Donald Trump may have done this, that, and the other, but, Hillary had that email thing. So I don't know. They're both liars. I don't know who I'm going to pick. This guy's a murderer. This guy's a murderer. This guy has 5 traffic tickets. They're both criminals. I just don't know. I'm not sure. That's what you always get back to.
Right. And of course, because we know that Donald Trump is a toxic waste dump hanging over any general election right now, he just is for any Republican running. Even if most of your voters, Republicans, did vote for Trump, and they kind of like him. But you can't admit that in public. So if you're a Democrat right now and you're running at the level of governor, of course you tie the Republican candidate to Trump. And McAuliffe has done it continuously. Yeah. And this is being portrayed by the Republicans and Glenn Youngkin, the candidate, as Terry McAuliffe is lying. He's lying. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Right. This has nothing to
Why
do
do you
with
keep talking about Donald Trump? Right. I don't understand. What is wrong with you?
This is about what Virginians care about. This is about education. This is about jobs. Donald Trump has nothing to do with it. And here's Trump out there saying, this election is completely about me. It's totally about me because everything is about me.
Unless Youngkin loses, in which case it's not about me at all. And it never was. If Youngkin loses, it's about cheating and lying about the election and not counting right, and election machines not working.
Well, wait. It's not just that. If Youngkin loses even by a shade, then Trump will say he didn't embrace me enough. He didn't have me physically come into the state and campaign for him in Southside Virginia.
I was ready. I was ready to go.
Packed them in Roanoke. I could have kicked their ass in Norfolk. I could have put on some great rallies, but Youngkin wasn't smart. So Trump is playing it both ways, ahead of the election, and he will either take credit or place blame, depending on how the vote comes out. And you are right; the skids have been greased already. The machinery is in place. Yeah. The lying has already begun. That if Glenn Youngkin loses, especially a close race, the election will have been dishonest, rigged, McAuliffe cheated. Democrats cheat. That's the only way they win elections. We're going to court. Just like 2020, just like with Trump. They're ready to do it. They're talking about it already. If Youngkin doesn't win, remember, that is the major umbrella statement of all Republicans now running for office. If any of us ever lose, whether it's county commissioner, senator, governor, president, it will always be not because we got fewer voters or votes. It's because there was cheating in the election itself. And you're going to see it play out unless Youngkin wins. And then when he wins, they won't say another word about it.
Fairest election of all time.
For a recount. Right.
Fairest election ever. The people have spoken. Blah, 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 right?
And by the way, Virginia went to hand ballots. They don't use machines. So there's no machines. Now, I know that the Italian space laser satellite was all ready to go. And then they found out in Virginia, there are no computers that they can shoot that laser down and reverse some results. They're disappointed, the Italians.
Everybody's been doing paper ballots. They did paper ballots in Georgia. But that was the thing, is you could go back and look at a paper ballot and match it up with the scanning thing and all that stuff. That's as Trump was continuing to lie and bullshit the entire time. So again, he's probably going to claim credit for that. We made them go to paper ballots in Virginia. We made him do it. It's like, no, it was always going to be that way, you dumb asshole. Speaking of January the 6th and Donald Trump, his vice president, Mike Pence.
Hang on. Can I just throw one more thing about the Virginia election? Because it's very likely that the reason what we've just been talking about the last 5 minutes could easily occur, because I think this is the first time that Virginia has had as long an early voting process as they've had. They've been voting since the middle of September. Okay. Right. So what that means is when the polls close, I don't know what time they close there, 7:30, 8 o'clock, whenever it is, they will have very fast results from the ballots that were already there. Right?
Depending on whether they're allowed to count those ballots. Remember,
they're allowed to count them ahead of time. Okay?
Good. Well, that didn't happen in places like Pennsylvania, and that's why asshole baby continue to rage.
Right. Let me finish here. It's very likely that Terry McAuliffe will run up a lead, maybe a giant lead,
correct,
because of early voting, because that's what Democrats do. Mm-hmm. And then what do Republicans do? They don't trust mail-in voting. Yeah. And why is that?
Because asshole baby told them not to.
Of course. And that hasn't changed in the mindset of a lot of Republicans. So they're going to vote in greater numbers on election day, Tuesday, and their votes will come in later. And if the amount of votes that come in, and Virginia is just like a lot of other states, just like where we are, the big cities, the suburbs around the big cities are heavily Democratic, and the places where no one has any teeth are Republican. Okay, I apologize for that. They have dentists in every county in Virginia. I'm sorry I said that.
Bristol.
Oh, but if the big mail-in vote, early vote lead isn't overcome, and McAuliffe does squeak out a win, they're going to claim exactly what they did with Trump.
It's going to be the same thing. They'll claim in the middle of the night these votes came in and they changed it, when in fact they're just tallying up the stuff they already had on hand.
Yeah, Britt, the playbook has been written.
Of course,
it was not executed with skill by Trump and his people. But you know what? This won't be a production of Rudy Giuliani or Sidney Powell,
right,
or John Eastman.
Well, they've got a deep bench. They've got a very deep bench, as you like to point out. They bring a lot of people out there.
Right. But wait a minute. Isn't Regent University? Isn't that in Virginia?
I think that is correct.
That's the old Pat Roberts, right? And they have a law school, so they probably churn out a bunch of right-wing lawyers that are ready to jump in for this.
Virginia Beach. It's in Virginia Beach, Brad, is where Regent University is.
And that is the old Pat Robertson. It was called something else. And he
bullshit. It was called Bullshit University, but they decided that was too on the nose.
You sure it wasn't 700 Club University?
It was Jesus is coming to take us all away University. But again, they decided that wasn't good for marketing and it would hurt the football team.
Hey, Britt.
Yeah.
Britt, are you still a Raiders fan?
Of course. Why would I not be?
Well, because I just got a notice on my thing here. Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III facing DUI charge after fatal car crash in Vegas.
It's a charge. He hasn't been proven guilty in a court of law.
Someone's dead.
What a great year for the Raiders so far. We need to fire another coach so we can go on a winning streak. This will be good. And where did Henry Ruggs go to school, by the way? Do you know where he went to school?
I don't know. The Ohio State University. I have no idea.
The University of Alabama. So there you go. There's a nice connection there. Michael Pence, who was the vice president of these United States, was at an event for Young America at the University of Iowa, Brad, because he has to build up his base for the 2024 primary. And he was let's see.
Do you think there's Pence fever building somewhere in America right now?
You know it. Speaking at a Young America Foundation event at the University of Iowa, Pence was asked by an audience member why he decided to deviate from the plan to install Donald Trump as the winner of the election. Someone in the White House convinced you that it would destroy your hopes of becoming president if he follows Trump pressure not to certify the election. My question is, what is the name of the person who told you to buck President Trump's plan and certify the votes? His answer was James Madison. James Madison. He decided not to go with Jesus. He instead went with James Madison, and he said he also prayed over it, and that is what helped him go and do and have the courage to do what he did on January the 6th and certify the true election results, Brad. So he's already getting a bunch of shit for this.
From who?
Well, from people obviously who were at this Young America conference and a lot of other people as well on the right who would supposedly be the ones who would make him the nominee for the presidential nomination in 2024.
Well, look, you know what? Pence, just the general idea of Mike Pence is too stupid to talk about because he truly is the definition of a loser. Okay. He's a loser. One term as governor of Indiana, he was about to be run out on a rail. He was never going to win re-election. And Trump picked him because Trump thought, I need the most vanilla, thought-free, gutless sycophant in a state that I need, Indiana, that I can find. Who shall it be now? All right, it's Mike Pence, right? And I don't think we ever decided, Britt, who was the king bootlicker during that administration, whether it was him or Pompeo.
I go Pompeo. Barr would be on the list for sure.
Right.
Meadows, who is now facing some problems.
You're right. Well, that's the point. We never decided. But, you know, it's kind of hard to argue against Pence because, you know, he was in for a penny and he was in for $1 all the way through. Yeah. He never quit. He never walked away. He never publicly disagreed really with Donald Trump on anything ever. Nothing. When the rubber was hitting the road, you know, Mike Pence was always silent, never had anything to say. So, you know, he's a non-factor. I mean, you know, you didn't think there could be a lamer, more inconsequential vice president than Dan Quayle, who was the object of jokes. But to be fair now, in retrospect to Dan Quayle, he was about 500 times more thoughtful and more studious than Mike Pence. And Dan Quayle was not the most thoughtful, studious person ever. He really wasn't. But
he saved the republic when it came time.
He gave Pence the right advice. It's interesting that Pence doesn't name Dan Quayle here. Instead, he names someone who really can't be questioned at this time, James Madison. Mr. Madison, predisposed and has been dead for probably 180 years. So to cite a prayer and someone in the one of the founding fathers is lame. It's just weak. It's pathetic because if you were president, you don't get to do that when you make an important decision. You don't get, oh, why did you bomb that site in that country? Well, Andrew Jackson spoke to me. No,
That's a good place to stop.
No, I'm not done with Pence. I have more to say about Mike Pence. There's nothing.
How much more could you say? There's nothing to say about Mike Pence. He's like he's the most uncontroversial vanilla sumbitch in the history of ever. I mean, people think that Joe Biden doesn't have an edge. My God, he's fucking Ozzy Osbourne compared to, Mike Pence. Holy shit.
All right. We will return to these shenanigans tomorrow.